That deep navy on a full-size Yukon XL isn't restraint, it's a declaration. And this truck was built for someone who's done negotiating with the Escalade. By the end of this video, you'll understand why GMC built the Yukon XL Denali as a direct challenge to the Cadillac Escalade ESV from inside the same company. There's one interior decision in this cabin that tells you exactly who the primary stakeholder is. It's not the person behind the wheel. And is the XL Denali worth its premium over the Lincoln Navigator L? My answer requires a comparison most reviewers don't make. We're covering the rear cabin architecture, the powertrain, and the exterior. And the origin of this brief, it reportedly didn't start with a product planner. It started with a conversation about who actually buys a Yukon XL and who should have been buying it all along. Here's the most significant decision in this vehicle, and it's not the deep navy paint. And it's not the body kit, it's the rear cabin, and more specifically, who it was designed for. The Yukon XL's wheelbase sits at approximately 130 inches, providing 10 additional inches of interior length over the standard Yukon. Every engineering decision in the XL Denali reportedly allocates that space for the rear occupants, not the driver. The dual headrest tablet screens, the second-row climate console, the individual captain's chairs, these trace to a single brief. Treat the rear passenger as the primary stakeholder. This matters commercially because the Yukon XL has historically been bought by families and executive transport services, but engineered for the person behind the wheel. Closing that gap is what the Escalade ESV's interior team has been doing for a decade. GMC is finally making the same argument. My opinion, this is the most important interior reorientation GM has made in the full-size SUV segment since independent rear suspension arrived in 2021, because it finally aligns the engineering priority with the actual purchase motivation. Speculative tech number 1, predictive thermal compensation. The XL's additional wheelbase places third-row vents approximately 18 inches further from the evaporator core than in the standard Yukon. At that duct distance, air arrives 3 to 4 degrees warmer than the set temperature, meaning equal temperature settings can't physically deliver equal comfort without active correction. The XL Denali uses predictive thermal modeling that pre-adjusts each zone's set point by the exact amount required to deliver the requested temperature to the occupant, not the duct outlet. It's not climate control, it's climate delivery. The rear cabin case is made. The interior around it is where that engineering priority becomes something you can see and touch. The dual panoramic display spanning the upper dashboard is this cabin's architectural centerpiece, and it earns that description on functional grounds, not visual ones. The single curved glass housing integrates what most competitors achieve with 2 screens separated by a bezel. That seam elimination matters specifically when the driver's eye tracks from the instrument cluster to the navigation map. A physical gap creates a moment of optical reset that doesn't exist when the glass surface is continuous. For anyone who's done a 3-hour drive with navigation on a separate screen from the instrument cluster, that micro-adaptation adds up over every trip. This resolves it at the hardware level. The cream leather with navy contrast piping is a detail that reads as more significant the longer you examine it. The navy piping isn't a color option, it's a deliberate connection between the exterior paint specification and the interior surface. More importantly, the stitching runs continuous along the seat edge, sewn at the upholstery stage rather than applied afterward. Applied piping fails at junction points under use. Continuous sewn piping doesn't. That distinction has a production cost attached, and at this price point, it should. Speculative tech number 2, unified rear cabin command network. The second-row console touchscreen and the headrest tablet screens share a single vehicle command bus. A rear occupant's navigation input from the console mirrors automatically on the front display. No driver re-entry. The permission hierarchy defaults to collaborative. Rear occupants suggest, the driver overrides. For anyone who's managed a long family drive where a passenger wants to adjust the navigation at 75 miles per hour on the highway, that workflow improvement is not a minor convenience. It's a meaningful safety consideration. Now, I want to be straightforward about this. The instrument cluster behind the steering wheel retains a hybrid analog-digital layout. At this price point, point, a fully resolved digital cluster is what the cabin's overall visual language warrants. The analog gauges feel like a carryover from a lower trim rather than a deliberate design choice. Longtime GMC owners will accept it. First-time buyers cross-shopping from a Range Rover or a fully digital Navigator L will notice it immediately and rightfully question it. The cabin makes a sophisticated case for the XL's premium positioning. The backstory behind who this was built for is what makes the exterior section land with a different frame entirely. Here's what I can tell you now. The XL Denali brief reportedly originated not from GMC's product team, but from exit surveys of customers who bought the standard Yukon Denali and immediately asked the same question: where do all the people I'm carrying sit? That question reportedly drove the entire rear cabin engineering brief, but the number that fully closes the argument is still ahead. The deep navy exterior is significant in this segment for a non-obvious reason. Full-size American luxury SUVs sell overwhelmingly in white, silver, and black. Those colors photograph consistently and hold resale value across the board. A deep navy finish communicates that this trim was designed for buyers keeping the vehicle, not trading it after 3 years. That's a specific ownership intent signal, and it's reflected in every other design decision this package makes. The body kit, front splitter, side skirts, rear diffuser, earns its presence on engineering grounds. The front splitter reduces underbody pressure at sustained highway speed on a vehicle with significant frontal area. The rear diffuser manages wake turbulence behind a 224-inch body. On a vehicle of this size and weight class, those contributions are real, they're not cosmetic. The dark multi-spoke wheels proportionally resolve the XL wheelbase. A narrow wheel on a 130-inch platform reads as decorative. These read as intentional. Overall length, approximately 224 inches. Wheelbase, approximately 130 inches. Ground clearance, approximately 8.5 inches in standard suspension configuration. This exterior holds because the color choice, the wheel specification, and the aero elements form a single coherent argument, not a list of added features. The exterior makes the premium case. The powertrain delivers on it. The 6.2-liter Ecotec 3 V8 delivers 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. The Lincoln Navigator L produces 440 horsepower from a twin-turbocharged V6. On peak output, the Navigator leads marginally. On torque delivery below 2,000 RPM, where a fully loaded XL operates most of the time, the V8's naturally aspirated curve provides broader pulling authority at part throttle. For anyone towing on weekends or managing airport runs with a full passenger load, that low-end torque accessibility is the practical distinction. For anyone who's driven the Navigator L and appreciated its turbo V6's response, the Yukon XL's V8 will feel more consistent across the throttle range because there's no boost threshold to manage. Speculative tech number 3. Active exhaust harmonic tuning. The quad exhaust outlets at the rear use asymmetric tube diameters. Inner outlets carry primary flow, outer outlets manage secondary overflow at high engine loads. An active valve system reads engine load and driver inputs simultaneously. At low throttle in residential traffic, secondary outlets close for near-silent luxury operation. At highway passing speeds, all 4 outlets open, reducing back pressure and delivering the V8's full tonal range. One vehicle, 2 distinct personalities. The engineering principle: a $120,000 luxury SUV should behave like one in a neighborhood and like a performance machine when the driver asks. The powertrain and chassis case is made. The financial picture is where the full XL Denali argument either holds or doesn't. Now, here's what I actually think, and I'll be completely straight with you. The rear cabin architecture, the headrest tablets, the second-row console, and independent climate zones, that's GMC's direct answer to what exit surveys kept asking. This XL Denali was engineered for the passenger being carried, not the person doing the carrying, and that reorientation is exactly what justifies the conversation we're about to have about the price. Pricing for the Yukon XL Denali in this specification is expected to land between $108,000 and $128,000 fully configured. A comparably equipped Cadillac Escalade ESV Platinum runs approximately $105,000 to $118,000. The Lincoln Navigator L Black Label starts around $109,000 to $118,000. The Land Rover Range Rover L starts above $130,000. The XL Denali lands between the Escalade ESV and the Range Rover L, and the ownership math broadly supports that positioning. The GM service network versus Land Rover's notoriously variable dealership experience is a real 5-year consideration that the sticker doesn't capture. But I want to be honest about the trade-offs. The analog-digital hybrid instrument cluster is the visible evidence that this vehicle was built on an existing platform with incremental upgrades rather than a clean-sheet interior. Buyers cross-shopping the fully digital Range Rover L or Navigator L will notice that gap, and they should. It's a real shortcoming at this price. On depreciation, navy exterior on a full-size SUV carries higher resale risk than a color-neutral alternative. For buyers planning to sell within 4 years, that's a consideration the window sticker doesn't reflect. Now, the strengths. First, the rear cabin experience is the most resolved in the full-size American SUV segment. The dual headrest tablets, second-row console, and independent climate zones form a coherent passenger system that neither the Escalade ESV nor the Navigator L delivers at equivalent specification. Second, the 6.2-liter V8's maintenance cost at GM service intervals is meaningfully lower than the Range Rover L's V8 over a 5-year ownership window. That delta compounds materially over a typical ownership cycle. Third, the deep navy exterior on an XL wheelbase is a genuine market differentiation in a segment saturated with black, white, and silver. For owners keeping this vehicle, the resale risk is irrelevant. The ownership experience of driving something visually distinct in this class is real. Here's the call. If you regularly transport more than 4 passengers, family, clients, corporate travel, and rear seat experience is your primary criterion, the XL Denali is the strongest American argument in this segment right now. If the driver experience is your primary focus and rear space is secondary, the standard Yukon Denali saves you $15,000 and delivers 90% of the driving satisfaction. And if you need the European badge, that's a different purchase entirely and a different service relationship. At the open, I said that deep navy on a Yukon XL was a declaration. Having walked the full picture, rear cabin architecture, second-row command network, V8 ownership economics, it's the declaration of a vehicle that knows exactly who it's for. I genuinely love your perspective, especially if you've owned a Yukon XL or an Escalade ESV. Drop your thoughts below. Here's the real question before you go. $120K for the Yukon XL Denali or the Escalade ESV Platinum at the same money? Drop Yukon or Escalade in the comments right now. If you want to see this go directly against the Navigator L Black Label, that video's right here. If this kind of real, no-nonsense automotive analysis is what you're looking for, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.